Hello and welcome back to the Rams Writer podcast. I'm your host, Simon, as always. Now, it's a little bit of a different sort of podcast. Basically, this is just going to be about one person, that's Kelle Roos. So, Kelle Roos, you either like him, you hate him, or some even loathe him. But it seems to be that he will, I think, be our number one goalkeeper next season, despite David Marshall being here, who was obviously brought in last season by Philip Cocu to be our number one. And again, the same with the previous couple of seasons, Kelle Roos has managed to find his way into the starting lineup, find his way into the team, which is interesting. Now, let's rewind it back. Kelle Roos has been at the club now quite a few years, actually, to be honest. Done his time in the sort of, I don't know, the under-23s, progressed through, and he's now come into, the first team, mainly as a backup. However, under Frank Lampard, he was given starts in the cup game, which is fair enough, why not? But that then led to him becoming a starter in the league games, which, he deserved it. He made some brilliant saves. He had some brilliant performances. No one sort of doubted him. I think when he first came onto the team, he looked a little bit, I don't know, but maybe a little bit of a loose cannon. I think I remember him seeing chase balls like from in his area out to the touchline and slide tackle. I think I'm sure it was against Wigan he did that. Accrington Stanley, another game where it was a bit questionable, diving sort of after the ball had gone past him. But whether it's just nerves, maybe it was that. However, he seemed to then sort of get settled, get into a role, get into the team, and basically became, I would say, undroppable. Scott Carson was obviously our number one keeper at the time. He had a great season under Gary Rowett the season before. But yeah, Roos comes in and he does a job, and he made some brilliant saves. Bristol City, he had the game of his life, very important game away. Ashton Gate, I think we won 2-0, 2-1, 2-0. That was important for us. We needed that win to keep our dreams of top six hopes alive. And obviously played in the playoffs against Leeds, and then dropped the clanger against Aston Villa again at Wembley in the playoff final. That then, I think, was where people went, not for me. Because up until then, I think he was fine. No one really said, oh, this Roos is a bit dodgy. You didn't really see him get questioned on social media as much as he does now. But, that's what it's like if you're, especially if a goalkeeper makes an error, and it's a big error like that. Obviously he came out, went to claim the ball, dropped at McGinn's head, goal with 2-0, but yeah, and then obviously he was number one under Cocu, but it came apparent very quickly that coming out for crosses suddenly became, I don't know if it was nervousness, whether it was anxiousness, or just pure sort of, I'm not coming for crosses. But he did look vulnerable if he did. He never wanted to really come and catch a ball. He was always one that's flailing his arms and punching it. We saw that against Fulham away, where I think probably 2 out of 3 goals cost us because he didn't claim balls. There was evidence to say, actually, well, is it his fault? But I think looking back, it's not. Now, Kelle Roos is known for his shot stopping. I think I'm trying to think back to, again, and go back to Scott Carson. He was very, very good at shot stopping, but he also had that presence as well. I think he could command his area as well. But Kelle Roos, for me, a brilliant shot stopper, very agile, very athletic. He's good with his feet as well. That's not just obviously distribution. Sometimes, yeah, he'll have the odd ball that he'll play long and it goes here, there, and everywhere. But he does have. People say he's got a mistake in him. I don't think he has a mistake in him, to be honest. I think he's fine, but I think he does sometimes feel the pressure. Now, obviously, he got dropped for Ben Hamer last season. Well, not last season, the season before. And I think, was it worthy? Yeah, I think it was. But I look at it, and by the end of that season, I think they were just as bad as each other, really. He came back into the game for a couple of cup games. I think he did well in the cup games, especially against Crystal Palace, made some really good saves. And then we move on to last season. He was dropped as number one. David Marshall was signed purely to be the number one keeper. But ultimately, after half the season, Roos was back in there. You know, it was in and out again. You know, I think David Marshall was out of the squad with illness in around January time. And then came Kelle Roos. You know, and he did a job. And I think, like I say, a lot of people, if he concedes a goal, he will be looked at it very microscopically to see any tiny minor error he makes. And, you know, like, oh, Roos has got to do better there. Roos has got to do better there. When it comes to crossing, again, it's still sort of... I think he improved a little bit against Barnsley away in the 0-0 draw there. He got a lot of balls into the box and he dealt with a lot of them. I think Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was a Sheffield Wednesday game, last game of the season, where I think he had a ball go back over him. He tried to head it wrong and put his hands up. But for me, that's just reaction. But again, I think that's something he needs to improve on is his composure when there's a lot of activity going on in and around his box. He's got to command that area. If balls are going in there, he's 6'6", 6'7", something like that. He's a very, very tall goalkeeper. I might be over-exaggerating there, but he's very tall. But I think he's got to have that presence. When you are that tall, you've got to have a presence about you. Now, one thing I will say, I've said it before, is that for me, you know, his goalkeeping coach was Shay Given. Given, for me, it wasn't somebody that used to come out and claim balls. You know, he didn't come out and claim crosses. Wasn't really a commander of his area because of his height. You know, he's only like just over 6 foot, so he's not the biggest goalkeeper. And when you've got a big towering striker, you're going to stay on your line. And I think that might have been an issue. We've now got Jason Piercy as goalkeeping coach, and we have to hope that he is getting Kelle to work on his crosses. Now, looking at pre-season, looking at these trialists we bought Ryan Alsop in from Wycombe, another keeper. Not really seen a great deal with him. I think he had a very good game against us. Another one that's good at saving. You know, he's a very good shot stopper. That I guess people's argument there was that's what they're paid to do. Which I suppose, yes, it is what they're paid to do, but you've got to be good at it. And I think, you know, the pre-season games so far, you know, I think Roos is starting most of them, if not all of them. And then Marshall's come on, or Alsop's come on. You know, Roos against Real Betis on Wednesday night, phenomenal game. Two absolute brilliant saves. You know, to keep it at 0-0, and they were brilliant saves. You know, and one thing I noticed about him was there were one-on-ones, and a lot of the time you see him sort of going early, if that makes sense. So sort of trying to hesitate and guess where the shot's going so he can get himself diving sooner to save the shot. He didn't this time. He stood on his feet and he stayed big for a while. You do that as a goalkeeper, you give the striker a choice and he's got to make the decision where he's putting it. Sometimes I think Kelle makes it a little bit easier, or did make it a little bit easier for strikers to go, oh, he's gone early, I know where I'm going with that. I think the prime example was against Huddersfield, first season under Philip Cockett at home. I think it was the 1-1 game? Yeah, 1-1. And he was beating his front post. Now, looking back at the goal, positioning-wise, he did leave a little bit of a gap at his front post. It looked like he was anticipating a ball across towards his back post, but ultimately it was smashed in at the front post. You know, keepers get beaten at the front post. It doesn't mean it's their fault. Yes, they all say they shouldn't get beaten at the front post, but it looked, for all intents and purposes, that he was trying to hesitate the ball going across, either across the 6-yard box or a shot towards the back post, and he got beaten at his front post. Now, he got a lot of stick for that. However, 2 minutes later, one-on-one, it makes a great save. Yeah, that you know, he actually saved his points there, but he got criticised ever so much for that goal. And I think it's unfair criticism. You know, a lot of people are torn between David Marshall and Kelle Roos. For me, David Marshall, he's got more mistakes in him than Kelle Roos. If you look at the goals, some of the goals you can see last season, especially Marshall. The term biscuit wrists is what I've heard used. Now, it might be a little bit unfair, but yeah, there is times where he's got hands to the ball and they've gone straight through him. You don't see that very often with Kelle Roos. If he gets hands to the ball, he would ultimately save the shot. You know, I mean, he got criticised for, was it the first or second goal against Sheffield Wednesday? It was a corner came in, it was a header from, what, 6 yards out. He makes the initial stop, which is very close to him, and he has to dive sort of backwards because, you know, that's the way it went. He ends up behind his line and he can't save the rebound. Oh, it's Roos' fault. What's he doing on the floor? What's he doing behind his goal line? I have a slight, I suppose, not bias, but, you know, those of you who know me on social media will know that I do play in goal. So I can see, I sort of have an idea. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near up to their standard, but, and you know, I have an idea of what they're trying to do. But going back to Wednesday, you know, I spoke about anticipation. Obviously, you see in the video that he stays up, stays tall, and then he puts a big arm up. And as I said about Marshall and biscuit wrists, that for me, does Marshall save that? Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes he has strong hands, sometimes he doesn't. Roos there, very, very strong arm. It's the same with the first video as well. You know, the first save he made, again, stays up, stays big. It goes for what they call a K block because of the position of the body, and ultimately, you know, makes a very good stop again. And I think, judging by Rooney's words afterwards, saying that, you know, he was going to leave Kelle on for 90 minutes, but the crowd were right behind him, so took him off so he could get that ovation from the crowd. You know, and one thing he said is, you know, Roos has struggled with the fans in the past, and he wants to put it to bed. You know, and I think at this moment in time, the way things are, the uncertainty that surrounds the club at the minute, the uncertainty that surrounds the squad, now is a time that we have to get behind each and every single one of these players, no matter their past, no matter what's gone before. We need to get behind these players because this is going to be a heck of a season. You know, we again, uncertainty is rife at the minute. So we don't know where we are squad-wise, player-wise. But it's interesting because I think it looks like Roos could be the #1 goalkeeper this season. Whether that means Marshall's going, I'm not sure. Possibly. It wouldn't surprise me if he did. You know, what is he, 35, 36 now? Something like that. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him go. And I think we have to get behind Kelle. And that means, obviously, there's fans back now. There's crowds back now. You know, let's not shunt him. You know, let's not get on his back if he makes an error. If it's not, you know, if he goes to a punch and it doesn't go as clear as he wants. Because all goalkeepers make mistakes. Now, costly mistakes, I don't think he's made that many. I think he gets, as I said before, he gets micro-judged because of his past and his mistake against Aston Villa. But I think if he comes within what he should do as a goalkeeper and commands that area, you know, one thing I've noticed as well is especially last season when there was no crowds and you could hear a lot of the on-pitch noise, he talks an awful lot. He used to be very quiet. He started talking more now. And I just think if he gets the right guidance from Jason Piercy and he can teach him to be confident, teach him to command his area, I think, yeah, there is a decent keeper. I know some of you would disagree with me, and that's fine. You know, I genuinely understand that, and I understand why you think that. But I'm just trying to look at it from both sides of the story. Yes, there is errors he's made, but it's not just that. I think, you know, a lot of people say, well, he doesn't come for his box. It doesn't give his defence confidence, so they panic as well. But surely when you've got someone like Curtis Davis in there, you know, they're senior pros, you know, they should be able to deal with that, really. Let's be honest. But yeah, for me, Kelle Roos will be #1 this season. I personally believe that the amount of games he's played, the way that Rooney spoke about him after the game, you know, and I think we need to get behind him. We need to applaud him. You know, we were all behind. It's so much different when you're at a game. It's so much different because you get all the roos and all this when he makes a great save. like Rooney said, and I know it's only one game, but there has been games last season where he's had very good games, but it's gone unnoticed, you know, because people just don't want to appreciate it. And it's very similar to Richard Keogh. He made that error at Wembley, and he was untrusted then by the fans for a long, long time. And I think Roos is going for the same thing at the minute, and I don't know what he's got to do to sort of, I suppose, get fans to get past that. Maybe, you know, I think if he starts coming out, starts commanding his area, catching balls, I think fans will get off his back and actually, yeah, you know what? He is actually all right. Because I know from personal experience, when a keeper makes an error, it's tough. And, you know, it's tough for the keeper just in a mindset situation anyway. If you make an error, you feel bad and you can let it get to you. And that can affect your performance. When you're doing that, and if you're doing that, and then you've got the fans as well giving you grief, it all builds up, you know. And it was nice to see the appreciation of Kelle Roos on Wednesday night from the fans in the stadium. Like I say, it's a lot different. We all know this, you know. And I think, you know, when you go back to the ground, you'll notice then, you know, you get behind each and every single one of those players when they're on the pitch. We need to do the same as well when we're not, you know, when we're not at the ground, you know. So, but that's just my thoughts anyway. I just think, yes, he's made mistakes in the past. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, see where we are at the start of the season, see what he's like if he does start, which I do believe he will. And let's just get behind him, support him, you know, because I think, you know, when it comes to shot stopping, his distribution, you know, the comfort that he's got with the ball at his feet, he's very composed with the ball at his feet as well. I think there is a good keeper in there. It's just that commanding and coming to claim crosses, which I hope now we've got a different goalkeeper coach, is something that we can see a big improvement on. Let me know in the comments, guys. Remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Let me know what you think. Until next time, guys. Come on, Derby.